Assalamu alaikum dear students. In the series of learning object-oriented programming, we are discussing the object-oriented programming C++. In the previous video, we have discussed what is object-oriented programming, how object-oriented programming methodology is different from the procedural-oriented programming methodology, or what are the advantages of the object-oriented programming methodology over the procedural-oriented programming methodology. Every minute detail regarding the object-oriented programming, or we can say every minute detail regarding the introduction to object-oriented programming methodology have been thoroughly and minutely discussed in the previous video. And in today's video, we are going to discuss what are various features of object-oriented programming, or we can say what are various characteristics of the object-oriented programming methodology, or we can say what are the various features of the object-oriented programming C++. So our today's topic is features or characteristics of the object-oriented programming methodology. In today's video, we will see what makes the programming language an object-oriented programming. What are the features that makes any programming language object-oriented programming language? So our today's video is features of object-oriented programming. I can say the characteristics of the object-oriented programming. There are 6 different features, or there are 6 different characteristics that makes any programming language the object-oriented programming. They are the first one is the object. First one is the object. Object here. Object. Second one is the class. Third one is the abstraction. Fourth one is the inheritance. Fifth one is the polymorphism. And sixth one is the object abstraction and encapsulation. There are 6 different features of the object-oriented programming, and in these 6 features, these 4 features or these 4 characteristics, abstraction, inheritance, polymorphism, and encapsulation, are also called the pillars of object-oriented programming. So in today's video, we will discuss these features very briefly, and in later video, in coming videos, we will discuss these features one by one broadly. Every minute detail and their implementation will be discussed in coming videos. And in today's video, we will discuss these features very briefly. So first of all, we know that the object-oriented programming methodology, everything in the objective programming methodology is treated as an object. For example, I will try to relate these concepts, these features with the real life. So for example, if here we will take the example of the student. We know that student, what is a student? Student, for example, class, we have a class, there are the students. The student may contain 2 types. Students may be either male or female, and the student is the entity. Student is that, and it will contain this entity. This student may have some characteristics, or we can say it has some attributes. For example, this is our student. For example, student, and this student may contain some characteristics, or we can say attributes. For example, here I will write here, for example, weight is the characteristics of the student, height is the characteristics of the student. For example, color is the characteristics of the student, age, these are the characteristics of the student, or we can say the attributes of the student. These are called the attributes or data. Attributes, or we can say attributes, or you can say data. And we know that we store these attributes in the variables, and also the student can also have some functionality. That means it may have some behavior. For example, students can eat, write, walk, learn, and etc. These are the functions associated with this student. So we know that what is it? It is a student. Student is the entity. Student, for example, student, it has some characters, name, weight, for example, height, color, age, and it also has some functionality. Eat, student can write and walk. These are the methods. These are the functionality, or you can say methods. Methods, in other words, or we can say functions. So we know here that each, and this is called actually what is this? Is a class student. We know a class is the student is that class. That means every student have weight, every student have height, every student have color, every student have age. Okay, and every student can eat, every student can write, every student walks, every student learn. These are the functionality which a student can do, and these are the attributes. These are the properties of the student. So we can say, what is it? It is a student. It's a class of class. Class is a student. This is a class of students. Okay, that means what is a class? A class is the group of objects. For example, here only I can write for example, the student can be as a male, or either male, or there can be two categories of students. Student can be either male or a female. For example, Yousuf, Bashir, Ram, Priya, Salika. These are all the name of the students. Because what are these? Actually, this is the object. Bashir, student. Yousuf is the, actually what is Yousuf? Yousuf contains his weight, actually height, color, age. These all are the attributes of all these. Yousuf can have also weight, Bashir can have also weight, Ram can have also weight, Priya can have also weight, Salika can have also weight. So that means these properties are going to be shared by all these entities. And these are called objects, real world. What is Yousuf? Actually, this is the physical entity, and this is the logical entity. Class, what is class? Class is actually the logical entity. Whenever we define a class, no memory is going to be allocated. At the definition of the class, no memory is going to be allocated. The memory is going to be allocated only at the time of the creation of the object. Whenever we create the objects of that class type, the memory is going to be allocated. Till that, whenever we declare a class, when we define a class, no memory is going to be allocated. We can say that this student is only the template. That it is a logical entity. Student have, Yousuf can have these features: height, color, weight, and also Yousuf can eat. Yousuf have their this function right. Yousuf can walk. Yousuf can learn, and similarly, this Salika can walk. But we know that these are the objects. What is an object? Actually, objects are the real world entity. What are objects? Whenever we create objects in your memory, at that time is going to be allocated. Whenever we define the class, no memory is going to be allocated until and unless the object of that type, class type, are going to be created. Whenever classes are going to be created, objects are going to be created, their memory is going to be allocated. Okay, so we can say here the class is only a template. Okay, and object is the real world entity. Okay, we can access this. These are the properties: weight, height, color, which these all can share. So we can say what is a class. A class is because Yousuf is also object, Bashir is also object, Ram is also object, Priya is also object, Salika is also object. So we can say what are these? These are the group of objects. What are these? These are the group of objects, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 objects are there. They share the common properties and the behavior, because each and every this object can have these features. They share these properties. They are similar. These properties are similar along all these objects, within all these objects. So we can say that what is a class? A class is the group of objects. They share the common properties and the behavior. That means functions or code. I hope now you have understood what is a class. What is an object? The object is the real world entity. Whenever objects are going to be created, the memory is going to be located at that time. So we can say what is an object? Object is the entity about which we want to store a data. For example, this is a pen. This is a marker. The marker have color. The marker have length. The marker have girth. The marker have price. These are the attributes of this marker. But we can also write with this marker. We can use this marker as a ruler. This write rule. These are the function. These are functionality of this marker. So here both the functions and the properties, or we can say the attributes. That means every object have the attributes associated with that and the functions also. Each and every object. Here also, in this example, students. What is a student? Student is the class of objects that share the common properties and the behavior. And here Yousuf is the object, that it is a physical entity and is the logical entity. So we can say it is only a template. Class is only a template. I hope now you have understood what is class and object. Until and unless objects are not going to be created, no memory is going to be allocated. Only the memory is going to be allocated whenever we create the objects of that class type. So here, object. What is object? Yousuf is object, because they share these properties. All these 5 objects have these features common. So we can say that a class is a group of objects that share the common property and the behavior. I hope now you have understood what is object and what is class. Now, for example, here only I can write. And we can also say that objects are the instance of the class. What are objects? Objects are actually the instance of the class, because Yousuf is the object, that is the instance of this class. Bashir is also object, that is also an instance of this class. So we can say that the objects are actually the instance of that class, and each object contains the data and the functions which can manipulate that data. Here, for example, Yousuf is an object. It has weight, height, color. These are the attributes or properties, and these are the functions. So we can say if Yousuf eats more, then his weight get increased. We cannot say if Bashir eats more, weight of Yousuf get increased. No, if Yousuf eats more, then the weight of Yousuf gets increased. Okay, so we can say here that these are the, we can say, data, or we can say the attributes or variables, and we can store the data in the variables. So we can, what are the objects? Objects contains the data or attributes and the functions and the methods which manipulates that data, which are used to manipulate that data. So I hope now you have understood what are objects and what are the classes. So here now for example, here only I can write. Next one is the, I hope now you have understood what is object and class. What is object and class? Now we will see what is inheritance. What is an inheritance? Actually, what is student? Student is a class, and it contains also two subclasses. That is, student can be either male or female, we can say. For example, here I could write Yousuf, Bashir, Priya, Ram, Rohit. These are all the instances of this class. These are also all the students. These are the objects that share these common properties and their behavior. But what is inheritance? For example, inheritance, this is Yousuf, for example. We know that Yousuf contains all these features of the student. Weight, height, and this is under, for example, Priya. Priya contains all these features. But, for example, weight, we can inherit these properties from here to here. What is, we can inherit the properties of this weight because we have also defined these properties in this class, student class, and this male student and a female student. They are also the subclasses, we can say. They also contain these features. These also, instead of defining these features again here in the class, subclass, or we can say in male class, it is better to inherit these properties, or you can say derive these properties. What is inheritance? Actually, inheritance is a phenomena of deriving a new class from the existing class. Or we can say, what is inheritance? We can reuse these features here also. Weight, no need, height, color, and age. Here also, this for Priya can also have weight, height, color, age, and also functions eat, write, etc., etc. Here also it have functions eat, write, walk, etc. We know that it is better to reuse these properties. Instead of writing, instead of defining these properties again in this class, it is better to reuse. So we can say that inheritance provides as the facility, it enables us to reusability. So which is one of the most important feature of the object-oriented programming, because reusability saves both time as well as the memory. So it is better to reuse. We know that this is a class, we can say, from where we are deriving its properties, we are inheriting its properties. That Yousuf is inheriting the property from this class. But we know that there are some features, some body parts, we can say, which in males are different from that of the females. Actually, there are some features in males which are not present in the females, or there are some features in the females which are not present in the males. So we can say here that this is a male. This male, first of all, it inherits all these features of the parent class, this class, and in addition of this, it has some own features. And similarly, this female inherits all these features of this class, and in addition of this, it has some more features of its own. So instead of writing these all three features, we have to also only specify here the features which are not here, which are not in the parent class. This is called the inheritance. So what is an inheritance? Inheritance is the phenomena which enables us, or we can say which helps us, or which makes us capable to derive a new class from the existing class. So for example, this class is already present, and from this class we are deriving this class, male student class. The features of this are also going to be inherited here. The class which is already present, that is called a parent class. Take care. That class is called a parent class, or we can say base class. What is base parent class? A base class. It is that class from which we can derive under classes. or we can say the class which is already present is called the base class, or we can say it is called the parent class. And we know that this male student, this class, that is going to be derived from this student class. So this is a derived class, or we can say it is a child class, or we can say subclass. So what is inheritance? Inheritance, it is the process of, it is the phenomenon of deriving a new class from the existing class, and the class from which new class is derived, that class is called a parent class or base class, or we can say superclass. And the class which is derived from this parent class or this base class is called a derived class or child class or subclass. This child class inherits all the features from parent class, as well as it has some of its own features. So here also these features also gets inherited here, and in addition of these features, it may have some own features. I hope now you have understood what is inheritance. And in real life we can say, if any parent have a son, that son of the parent, or you can say the child of that parent, that father, the property of the parent is going to be inherited to the child. And in addition to that, the child can acquire some new property. He can purchase some new property. He can purchase a car. For example, if father have a building, if father have a land, that building and land is going to be inherited to that child. And in addition of that, the child can also purchase a car, which the parent not have. So we can say that the child is the base class of the parent class of the father. That all the properties, all the features of this child, of the parent, are inherited to child class. This is a real life. I hope now you have understood what is inheritance, and what is the class, and what is the object. And inshallah in the next video we will discuss the more 3 features, that is the data abstraction, encapsulation and polymorphism. These are the 3 features we will discuss in the next video. Till next video, take care and bye bye.